The roles are set for the Great Peloponnesian War. The third mission from Sparta, free the Greeks, means very simply, give up your empire and there won't be a Greek world war. So the roles are cast. Sparta's the good guy trying to save Greek freedom, and Athens, the polis that invented democracy, is cast in the role of the big bad Star Wars Empire villain. King Archidaeus is a very simple plan. Cut off the food supply to Athens. We'll starve them out. They'll have to come out and fight. The Spartans won a hoplite war. The Athenians won a naval war. Pericles knows what is happening here. And he also knows that in reality, Archidaeus can't hold this plan out as long as he thinks he can. This area out in here, kind of like the suburbs of Athens, this is where a lot of the farms are. So Archidaeus says, if we can control this area, Athens can't get food in. And the plan is to kind of cut off Athens here from its port. However, Pericles knows what Archidaeus is thinking, so Pericles builds this big wall. We know from back after the Greco-Persian Wars that they built a wall around Athens. Well, Pericles adds this part to the wall. It's an enormous wall that runs down to the port. Now, for the Spartans to be in this red area and maintain a siege, they need to have continuous food supplies from Sparta to Athens. It's a long distance. So Pericles tells Archidaeus, look, go ahead, besiege the city. We'll wait you out. You're going to blink before we do. And Archidaeus says, where are you going to get your food from, pal? And Pericles, now please understand this is not an actual conversation that happened between the two. This is basically the strategy that they're playing at. The Athenians know this. They've got this big giant empire. Everything in blue is part of the empire. And since Pericles protected the port this way, they don't need the food from this area. They don't need even the food from here. They can get all of their food by their ships coming into the port. The Spartans have no navy. Even the Corinthian fleet wouldn't be enough to fight the Athenian fleet and take out this area here. So Pericles says, bring it on. We'll wait you out. We'll win. You'll lose. No problem. What Pericles didn't plan on is a plague. The siege goes on for several months to a year. And we're talking about in this city wall area, at least 20,000, 30,000 people. Probably more in the range of 50,000+ people living in very tight quarters. An army camped out here. They can't do anything with the trash. They can't do anything with, and this is really gross, the bathrooming of 50,000 people. So there's all kind of garbage. There's human waste. And a plague breaks out. And it's horrible. It kills 2/3 of the Athenians. 2/3 of the city. Pericles is one of the victims. So Athens has now suffered something that is maybe even worse, and probably even worse, than the earthquake of 464 for Sparta. Pericles' plan seems like it would work, and it probably would have had the plague not hit, but Pericles' plan also caused the plague. Too many people without enough hygiene. So Cleon replaces Pericles. And where Pericles had kind of sit back and wait, let it happen, and we'll wait them out, and embarrass them kind of strategy, Cleon is very aggressive and says, no, we're gonna go right at them. And the Spartans aren't ready for this. They're not expecting this, and it catches them off guard. Cleon leads a Hoplon army out of the gates of Athens and charges right at the Spartans and punches them right in the face with a Hoplon War. And it knocks the Spartans back metaphorically, and they retreat, and the tide of war now turns to a very weak Athenian empire, but they have momentum, they have belief, and the war is now on their side. The next battle occurs in Pylos in 425, 5 years after the plague. Pylos is a coastal port. Pylos is down here. It's firmly in Peloponnesian League territory, but it's a member of the Delian League. They have been encouraging more and more Helots the Helots that escaped back in 464, they're free, but Sparta has slowly been rebuilding more slaves. Pylos is encouraging them to leave Sparta, come to Pylos, you'll have freedom. So Athens wins a war with Sparta in Pylos, takes 400 prisoners of war from the Spartans. The war is going very, very, very well for Athens. Then, 421, 422, we get the Battle of Amphipolis. I'll pull this up here. Spartan general is Brasideus. There's a silver mine here in Amphipolis. As it turns out, operating a war that has now gone on for 10 years is pretty expensive. So everybody wants this silver mine in Amphipolis. The Spartan general Brasidas captures the mine. The Athenians send Thucydides. Thucydides is here as the Athenian general, tasked with protecting this mine, keeping it in Delian League hands. Brasidas shows up and captures it, and as a result, for his failure, Thucydides was exiled, not ostracized, kicked out, never allowed to return to Athens. This ends up being one of the greatest things that's ever happened to the study of Greek history. Thucydides is a very intellectual man, and he wants to find out what is the cause of this. So he writes a history book, which is the main source of why we know so much about what happened in the Peloponnesian War period, from 460 down through about the late 400s. We know, thanks to Thucydides. Had he won here, who knows what we would have known about the history of the war, but his loss enlightens the world because he travels the Greek world interviewing people, getting first-hand accounts from people who fought in these battles. He goes and watches the battles and writes records of them. So it allows him to see the war from both sides. When you read Thucydides' Peloponnesian War, you get stories from both sides of the war. It's a very good, accurate, unbiased history, other than, of course, Thucydides starting the book with his opinion that this is all about Sparta being jealous of Athens. Cleon tries to retake the mines. He is the leader of Athens now. He marches troops up. He leads the Athenians. Brasidas leads the Spartans. Both Cleon and Brasidas, sorry, I keep mispronouncing his name, it's Brasidas. Both Cleon and Brasidas are killed in the Battle of Amphipolis, and the two sides signed the Peace of Nicaeus, which lasts for 6 years, from 422 to 416. The war picks up again all the way over in Italy on the island of Sicily. On the island of Sicily, Syracuse is right here. Syracuse is a Spartan Peloponnesian League polis. They attacked an Ionian polis, those who are related to the Athenians. Athens responds by sending troops to Sicily. They are led by Alcibiades. He's the Athenian naval general. He's got a bit of a reputation. He's a ladies' man. He's a playboy. He's got another beautiful woman on his arm every night of the week. He likes parties. And so before departing, he throws a big party for all of his troops. In the course of this drunken party, religious statues are destroyed. Alcibiades is the commander, so the blame stops with him. The Ecclesia of Athens tells him, you're going to go fight this war in Sicily, but when you come back, we are going to have a criminal trial for you. The punishment for desecrating a religious statue is execution. And he says, whoa, I'm not going to go fight your war just so I can come back and let you kill me. Let's do the trial now. The Athenian council, the Ecclesia, says, nope, go to war, we'll do the trial when you come back. So he goes to Sicily. He lands on the island of Sicily. He's getting his plan set up. And a couple of days later, another ship shows up and says, the Ecclesia has changed its mind. They would like you to go home and stand trial right now. So he puts Nicias in charge. Now, Alcibiades is a pretty smart guy. For all of his faults, he's a smart guy. And he knows that if he goes back for a fair trial ends in execution. A rigged trial ends in execution. They don't send guards to bring him back. They just tell him, come back, we're going to have a trial. Take your ship and come back. So Alcibiades doesn't go back to Athens. He lands on the Peloponnese and makes a little trip to Sparta. And he tells the Spartans, hey, there's a war going on in Sicily right now. I know all the Athenian plans. I know the troop movements. I know when they're going to strike. I know where they're going to strike. I want to be Spartan. And Sparta is thrilled. The Spartans appoint him a general. He's a major traitor to the Athenian cause. Winter hits on the island of Sicily, and it's really hard to fight a hop-on battle on cold, hard, snowy ground. So Athens decides they're just going to camp. They're not going to fight till the spring. Syracuse sends message back to Sparta. There's not going to be any fighting till the spring. Sparta sends troops with Alcibiades. Alcibiades brings with him exactly what the Athenian plan of attack is going to be. Spring comes. The Athenians attack, and the Spartans win. It's like they had the Athenian playbook somehow. The Athenians begin to retreat. They're leaving. They've got clear sailing back. The Spartans don't know that the Athenians are leaving Syracuse, that they're leaving the island of Sicily. But then there's a lunar eclipse, and the Greeks are very superstitious. The lunar eclipse is a message from the gods that bad things are going to happen, so they stop in the middle of the bay and wait for the lunar eclipse to pass. That takes, of course, all night. In the course of waiting all night, the Spartans figure out what's happening. As the Athenian ships are trying to sail out this way, and they stop and wait, Alcibiades and the Spartans trap them. And every single Athenian who left for the Sicilian expedition is killed or enslaved. And now the pendulum has swung to Sparta. Sparta has the clear path to victory in this war. In 413, something shocking happens. Alcibiades is leading a Spartan navy. Spartan navy. In 413, the Spartan navy defeats the Athenian navy. Athens is demoralized. The war appears to be over. There's no way Athens can recover from this, except for Alcibiades. Alcibiades isn't getting the praise that he thinks he deserves from the Spartans for how he's turned the tide of war. So Alcibiades shows up in Athens and says, "Hey, I hate the Spartans. I'm Athenian again." And the Athenians are like, "Oh, thank you, just in time. We've been getting our butt kicked. Thank you. You're general now." So they create fortifications in Decelea. It prevents shipments to Athens. Supplies have to come by sea, which is much more expensive. 20,000 slaves are freed in the silver mines. The Spartans are putting the squeeze on Athens. No more free wealth out of that silver mine. So Athens has to raise taxes on the Athenian Empire, which makes the people in the Athenian Empire hate Athens. Peloponnesian League goes around encouraging revolts. They need a fleet. Syracuse and Persia send ships. Persia helps Sparta, but it's too late. The Athenians release 100 ships that they had in reserve. With the last ship gone, an oligarchical revolt occurs in Athens. Peace seems likely until all the rebellions are put down, and then Alcibiades switches sides to Athens. And he leads the Athenians to a victory over the Spartans at the Battle of Syme in 411. Between the defeat of the Athenian navy, Alcibiades going from being Athens to Spartan, and all of the money being sucked out of the silver mine with the loss of the slaves, it looked like Sparta was going to win. Then Athens switches sides. Then Alcibiades switches sides. When he switches sides, the war shifts back to Athens. And it looks like Athens has a clear path to victory. In 410, under the guide of Alcibiades, the Athenians sink every single Spartan ship at the Battle of Cyzicus. By 409, that oligarchical rebellion that broke out in 411 is crushed. Democracy is restored in Athens, and Athens continues to win and win and win. For 6 years, Athens has nothing but victories, and it looks like the war is over. But wait, there's more. Lysander, Spartan general, will turn the tide yet again.